up out my forest. They looked into my room. I was only 4 years old. I didn't know what to do. I was playing muscle man with a friend. I think the dude was named Vernon. He saw the M16s and stepped away from the curtains, and they kicked in the door. This is the DEA. They saw my father, and then they fucked up his face, and they cruised up the stairs with their M16s. They busted into my room and scared the fuck out of me. I saw my mama. I said, what the fuck's happening? She said, we're busted. I said, what the fuck does that mean? She said, for growing the weed under the basement floor. I said, the plant that dad smoked. She said, but there's more. They're gonna take up our house. They're gonna take all your toys. They're gonna take away data. They're gonna put them in bars. They're gonna take all our money. They're gonna take all your cake. The next day was my birthday. I'm not being fake. These motherfuckers, they're called the DEA. They're called the CIA. They're called the NSA. And today, they listen to everything that you say, but you don't give a fuck. You just go about your day. You're not a file on everyone, and we pretend that we're dumb. We sell all our metadata. It's worth more than a sum, but they don't give us back none because they know that we're numb. We got some stupid motherfuckers that just want to be safe, and they'll give up their freedoms, man. They'll give up their say. They'll spend $1 million on education just to join up the slaves. You're not American. You spend $1 million on education just to join up the slaves. You're not American.
Sorry, had to let the dog in. Had to let the dog in. The dog was barking at the door the literal second that it cut. And I'm like, my dog has beautiful timing.
Hi, I'm on.
Sorry about that.
This is Dangerous Thoughts. This is my co-host, Tyson Strasberg.
There we go.
Mwah!
We love each other. We also have this little show. It's called Dangerous Thoughts, where we talk about important shit that people should be talking about and don't, because we're in a society full of like wimpy, pussy-footing morons that have been dumbed down for a very long time. And according to Buds in Reality podcast, actually, if you want to join Dangerous Thoughts, join our Discord. It'll be streaming across below. And you can also write a DM to @subscript pirate, subscript, the word subscript, SUBSCRIPT, pirate, subscript, pirate, on X, fucking X, on Twitter. And you can say, hey, I want to get in on this conversation. This conversation is interesting to me. And you'll pop right on here. He'll send you a link and you can join the conversation. Tonight, our show is about who knows what. Probably a little bit of anarchy, probably a little bit of politics, probably a little bit of Gaza, probably a little bit of, the shit that's happening in the world. I was thinking the other night, back to that 90s song where I wake up in the morning and I step outside and I take a deep breath and I get real high and I scream at the top of my lungs, fuck! What the fuck? Fucking fuck! Fuck!
So anyways,
but that's
I feel like that was a Barry Manilow song, actually. Yeah.
In the 90s, I felt it. I was like, yeah, what's going on? I dig it. What's going on? I kind of was like, it's all right. But today, holy shit, it feels to me like it's all collapsing around us. And our guest this week is a man named Shaun Collins. If you don't watch his podcast, you should. It's called Buds in Reality. It's on YouTube. And he talks about politics. He talks about anarchy. He talks about how to, I think what he talks about is mostly how to fix our broken system and why our system is broken and history and stuff like that. I hope I'm not wrong, but I think that's his go-to. Excuse me. This is my co-host, not back there. So, hey, by the way, guys, we're on the fucking road with Dangerous Thoughts. I'm in Los Angeles. I'm in my apartment that I left because of the actors' strike. And who gives a shit about all that nonsense? I mean, well, Hollywood's important because it is the propaganda machine that controls your thoughts. But I'm not really a part of it at this moment because we're on strike.
And the funny thing about it is we're on strike, but we're on strike not for the right reasons. Not like, hey, we should fucking stop making propaganda for the state. We should actually like tell stories that aren't, what's financed by government, elite corporations, etc. And do Hollywood a different way, but that's not what we're on strike about. We're on strike about AI and not enough money and all that other bullshit. So I want to bring on my I already have my co-host. This is Tyson. How are you?
We've met.
Tyson? Yeah,
I'm doing good. We've met. Yeah.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I watched a little bit of Shaun Collins' Buds in Reality TV show on YouTube show, TV show, whatever the fuck they're called. And it pissed me off, and the right reasons. It got me full of angst. So I really want to bring in our guest Shaun Collins, who does that show, because I think
what's in the cup? I want some of what's in that cup.
Lemonade.
Yeah, that's what it is.
It is. It's lemonade.
Really?
Yeah, it is. I'm just in a fucking mood tonight because I watched Shaun Collins' Buds in Reality show, and he had this little the second clip. First of all, was our buddy Zach, who I hope joins us tonight. But the second clip was this whole thing about how history repeats itself, and every 80 years we go through the same shit because of all these different reasons. And I found that really interesting. World War I, World War II was our high. And that's when everything was great for at least the white man. You could buy a house for $7,500. Your wife stayed home and took care of your kids. Then we had the next generation, which was like acid and Kennedy getting shot, and it was like the Great Awakening, love.
Woodstock.
Yeah. Which, my parents grew up in, and they were about love and peace and harmony and community and agorism and anarchy, which is what we might talk a little bit about tonight.
Well, think about back in the 50s, where you could have a 4-person family, right? Dad went to work, mom stayed home and took care of the house and the kids. Kids went to school. They set aside money for college. That could happen. Today, you have both parents working, barely affording a 2-bedroom apartment.
If they're lucky.
If they're lucky.
Yeah.
I'm not. And it's not just white, white, black, Mexican, everybody is feeling this pinch. We don't have it as good as our grandparents, in some cases, great grandparents had it. My grandfather in 10 years bought his house by setting aside a third of his union job paycheck. Now, a union job, I've had a union job for 17 years. I'm now I've moved up. I'm management now, but I couldn't buy a house in 10 years with a third of my paycheck.
Yeah, no, you're fucked. You're just a slave to the system like the rest of us.
I feel I'm not drunk. I'm not drunk, Manu.
That's okay. There's 90 something percent of us are just busting our ass to pay taxes and not pay our bills, and that's, I think, part of the design. I'm not sure, but I'm going to bring in our guest, Shaun Collins. He might know more about this. Hey, Shaun, how are you? Thanks for being a live thinker and a free American. It's great to have you here. Thanks for joining Dangerous Thoughts.
Manu, Tyson, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it, you guys. And I'm sitting here backstage, they say, in the computer world, and I'm listening to you guys talk. And Tyson brings up, the 1950s, where the man, can go to work and support his family, and they can buy houses and property and have a car and all these finer things in life, right? Well, the dollar was a lot more sound back in the 1950s. And that's, here we are in 2023 at this point. And if you want to go way back in history, when the Federal Reserve's inception in 1913, thank you very much to Woodrow Wilson, who was the president at the time.
Was he a part of the whole sneaky Congress passing of the?
Oh yeah, he was the president during that time, and he's a big time progressive for that time frame as well. Like, a lot of people don't understand that, but Woodrow Wilson was a huge progressive
That's the beginning of the Fed, right?
The beginning of the Fed, yes.
Okay.
And so, so 1913, the Fed starts. Our dollar today in 2023 is worth about roughly 3% of that original dollar.
Are
3%.
you serious?
Absolutely. And think about the reason why. Think about what I said at the opening, where a man could go to work and support his wife. They could own a home. They could put their kids through college. They could have a car. They could have all of that. What's happened is inflation, what it costs to live versus what a person owns. And if you look at frontline workers and CEOs and the divide, a CEO back in the 50s might get 10 times what a frontline worker got. Today, a CEO gets 1,000 times what a frontline worker gets. Right. Which you've heard the phrase, the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poor. That's where that comes from.
Shaun Collins.
Yeah, what's up?
What's up? What is the reason for inflation?
What is the reason for inflation? Well, it's actually a very simple thing to explain.
Hey, Tyson, I wasn't cutting you off. I fucking love you. I was just transitioning.
I know. I'm playing. Okay. I got it.
Cool.
Inflation is a direct result of money printing. And so every time they print money, it debases the dollar. And they've done this, time and time again throughout the decades. It never stops. And I see Manu's throwing up gang signs. I feel like
it went from love to Crips.
I feel like it kind of did go there. It went from love to like, hey man, I'm coming to shoot your ass, in the hood. But anyways,
okay, so sorry. Inflation. I'm sorry, my bad.
But no, man, inflation comes from, the government and the Federal Reserve inflating our money by printing, trillions of dollars out of nothing. I mean, they print this money and it comes out of thin air, honestly. They say, hey, but the problem is they have to create the problem to print the money, right?
Yeah.
Because if they just print money at will, they either A, have to come to the people and say, hey, we're going to raise taxes, or B, we're going to get hit with a hammered inflation or hyperinflation, which actually just happened, 2020 going into 2021 when, that asshole Donald Trump, had over, $7 trillion printed in a matter of 4 years. And then Joe Biden comes through is like, hold my fucking beer. Let's do, the Inflation Reduction Act and this act and this policy and that policy. And we're going to just print trillions more. And then all of a sudden our gas prices are $5.50 a fucking gallon. People can't afford groceries. And, the middle class and the poor are completely fucked. Completely fucked.
What happened when the dollar was tethered to something, right? Like the gold standard, the silver standard, in other words, each dollar had to be backed by something tangible. It couldn't just be printed willy-nilly.
Check this out. So while we were still under the gold standard, which Richard Nixon, that son of a bitch Nixon, everybody wants to talk about, Watergate and this and that or the other,
he took us off the gold standard.
And which was a complete and utter disaster that people never even understood. Because what happened was, while the dollar was still backed by gold, the United States government they couldn't borrow beyond their means. The standard wouldn't allow it because there wasn't enough gold to back the cash. So by them eliminating the gold standard, they could print money at will, which is what they've done. Which was Nixon axed the gold standard in 1971. Wow. And I wish I could think offhand of what the national debt was at that point. It was only in the billions. It wasn't in the
probably not trillions of dollars.
It wasn't in the trillions. And then from there, that's when, the Fed was just like, boom, 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 print, war, print, because they need war in order to print money at will and have the people stand behind it.
That's what I was hoping you were going to get to. I said, Shaun Collins. And then I said, what is the reason for inflation? My opinion, war. My opinion is they keep putting us into these fucking wars so they can blow shit up, and the military industrial complex can keep using their weapons and building their $1 billion fucking war machines and fucking smoking people and creating wars our CIA, our secret police, our Gestapo, they run around the world and they fucking start wars everywhere, and they create terrorism, or at least if they don't create it, they make it even bigger. Like, I think.
Have you asked yourself why they're doing that? Have you ever asked yourself why they do that? Because a lot of people will say, "Hey, it's the military-industrial complex," and yes, that's part of it. But why exactly do we need to go blow up everyone everywhere?
The governing principle of any society resides in its war powers. Its war powers, its ability to make war, its authority of the state over the people. That is
I don't know the answer to this because I'm a dumbed down American, but I think that they do this war thing to keep the oil and the banking and the war machine in power, to create this economy that keeps on being based off of that. And they do that. They do that to keep a slave system.
How much money is?
I think war is all about comfort, but
how much money is made during peacetime?
None.
How much is Bell Helicopter spending? How much is Skunk Works at Northrop Grumman spending? How much is Boeing? How much are they spending during peacetime? How much are they spending during wartime?
But you're not asking. You're there. You're so close.
Getting close.
Okay, so close. No, you guys are very close, both of you.
Yeah.
But what it boils down to is central banking. Okay, and the central banks run all of it. They run everything. And when I say they run everything, they literally run all of it. I'm talking.
Of course.
You don't even understand. Like, until you learn the banking system, especially the way the Fed works, the IMF, World Bank, BlackRock, people like that, they're the ones who run the show. And it's not even close from there. And so what we have here is a situation where our banks are desperate. The central banking system is very desperate because they've made bad deals. They've made bad loans. They've dealt with the wrong people, right? And so, and this is the most fucked up part about the banking system. So hypothetically, okay, Manu, right? I'm your bank. I loan you $20 million, okay? Now, I know, you're welcome. I know for a fact I'm going to give you 15% interest on that, right? 15% interest on 20 million. Now I know for a fact that you're not going to be able to pay me that loan back. But what I do know is that you're going to come back at me and tell me that you're not going to be able to pay that loan back. And then you're going to ask me for more money. And so I'm going to give you more money, but it's not going to pay off your actual loan. It's going to pay off the interest to the loan from the original 20 million, right? And so on and so forth. Now that sounds like that's your problem. Everybody will say that sounds like a Manu problem. And it is. But at some point, Manu is going to come to me and ask for more money. And I'm going to tell you, no, you've got enough money from me and you're not able to pay me back. You need to go get yourself a bailout. This is where it becomes a taxpayer problem, because now Manu is going to go to Big Daddy government and say, hey, I'm this big corporation and I borrowed all this money and I need you to bail me out because America and our situation is going to look really bad if you don't bail me out. And so Big Daddy government says, well, hey, I got you, dog. And then all of a sudden, boom, bailed out. And now it becomes all of our problems. And
okay,
time again.
This is not the first time this
that's happened. The corporation model, but in 2008 the housing model, very similar. But what happened was they did these balloon payments, which they knew people couldn't pay, right? So they got all that initial money to start, and then people lost their homes, and so the bank got to get the property. So now I had all the money you gave me before, and now I have your property,
and now I have your shit too, like everything you had.
Right.
Now, mind you, now check this out, y'all. Check this out, and you can put your tinfoil hat on, whatever you want to fucking call it. Mm-hmm. Now, that was 2008, right when Bush was leaving office and bringing in Obama, correct?
Right.
Yeah, his boy. but whatever.
And so Obama was going to come here and save everybody, right? That was the deal. Obama
was
was
so cute. It convinced me.
Save us from the big bad Bush.
I thought he was like, maybe. I didn't believe it, really. In my heart of hearts, I didn't believe it. But for a moment, I went, maybe he's like a Kennedy. Maybe he's actually going to fight and he's going to end the war, like he says. He's going to pull our troops back and all that beautiful 60s shit my parents talked about was going to happen. Turns out Obama was just a Bush implant raised.
He was
by
just as bad, if not worse. The only difference between Obama and Bush was Obama bombed a hospital while wearing his Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah,
that was the big difference. But
hold on. Woo, let's reel it back. Huge Obama fan. So reeling it back.
Without borders.
Reeling it back a little bit. Yeah, reel it back a little bit.
He did that.
He did that.
Look, it's funny. They put Obama and they put Clinton and they put some other guy together recently on a thing, and they go, "This is the reunion of the peacemakers." And I'm all, these guys, they bombed the shit out of everybody.
Let me guess. Bush,
certainly.
Bush, Obama, right?
Obama,
certainly.
Bush, and the guy that loved to get his dick sucked.
Certainly. Every president, including Obama, has his faults. And I worked, by the way, for Kaiser Permanente since 2005. So I was there for ACA, the American ACA, the American Care Act, or whatever that was. It was.
Oh yeah, the insurance.
The health insurance, right? I was there for that.
To buy.
What a fucking debacle that was, at least on my end. Anyway. But we're focusing on a sliver. He did a lot of great things, though. A lot of good things. Yes, there were some bad things.
Like what?
But he did a lot of good.
Tell me what he did good. Please tell me what Obama did.
Okay. Here's what he did good. He expanded care for people who could not get health insurance. There was a law that said if you had asthma, if you had cancer, if you had some pre-existing condition, that health insurance could turn you away. They could say, nope, you can't have Blue Cross, you can't have health insurance because you have a just like if you had a DUI, Progressive might not want to give you car insurance, right? You have a DUI. You've shown that you're a bad driver, you cost money, and we're not going to insure you.
Well, I mean, maybe you just call out your own situation then right there.
But I'm saying what Obama did was he said you cannot have human like cancer, asthma. You cannot discriminate. You cannot say you cannot get health insurance.
And then wait a second.
Now what about
then he made it the law to buy health insurance
or pay a fine, which I had to
pay a fucking fine if
I
hold on.
it.
Hold on. Let me explain. Let me explain. Okay. So I said I had problems with it. That's one of the problems I had with it. Now it said that you could keep your adult children who are still in school up to age 25 on your insurance. I thought that was good. You could not discriminate against somebody because of a health condition. I thought that was good.
That was the whole,
I thought that was good. What I didn't like was initially they said you could keep your own doctor, and the tax thing.
And that was not true. You could not.
Yeah, you could not. You cannot keep your own doctor, and I agree. And I work for health insurance, so believe me, I was very keen on that, and I was very upset by that. I was also very upset by the mandatory, although I understood it in California. And by the way, I Shaun, I don't want to presume I know where you are. Where are you?
I'm in Michigan. I'm with
you're Michigan.
Hitler out
okay.
here.
You're Michigan. Okay, so you have Whitmore, right? Is that your governor? Whitmore.
Yeah.
Okay. So Gretchen Whitmore. We could talk about Gretchen. But anyway, and no better. I've got Gavin Newsom here. But I feel like in California you have to have car insurance if you drive a car, right? You have to. There is no. Well, I'm going to drive a car and I'm going to take my chance.
Fuck of a goddamn. I'm sorry. I love you. The question was, what did Obama do well? And you said health insurance. Health insurance is fucked up. It's a complete shit show. So what else?
Hey, let me throw this in here. When it comes to Obama,
Affordable Care Act, I remember that. Affordable Care Act. That's
Affordable Care Act, which made it affordable for who?
For who? I pay $300 and something a month for my health insurance, and it sucks. And I
did see where the health trend was going up prior to ACA, and it curved it a little bit. It rose at a less of an incline, so it curbed it.
And my girlfriend,
it did not bring it back down. It did not bring it back down.
Let's talk about this real quick.
The girl. All right, let me finish this real quick. My girlfriend, who's disabled and on disability, she has the worst health insurance in the world, because the doctors that she goes to are fucking quacks. And there's no, like, I take her in all the time. She has a lot of
Medicaid or Medicare or whatever.
And she can't see anybody worth a shit. Everybody that's treated her has made her worse. And it's part of the whole idea of, like, my health insurance I pay for, but my doctors are a little better than hers. And then if you're richer than that, you can buy really good health. It's the same way it's always been. There's no change to the Affordable Care Act. Didn't change health insurance.
What it boils down to is we need to decentralize healthcare, just like we need to decentralize everything. Decentralization of healthcare will do this. It will create competition. What we have right now is a government monopoly, because they have a way of putting their hooks into things and giving the people who they want to have their way have it, which is a monopoly. Monopolies drive up prices. This isn't hard to figure out. Competition drives down prices. Once you decentralize the healthcare, we will have a competition, which will drive down prices on drugs. It will drive down prices on healthcare. 100%.
I agree.
So but here's what I don't understand. In countries where they have universal health care, they pay way less for drugs, way less, and yet they are a centralized.
How much?
I mean, way more centralized than us. I mean, it is literally one entity.
They actually don't pay too much more than we do. It's like 50%.
Yeah, they pay way less than we do. Way less than we do.
No. Check this out. In Europe, most people in England, for example, which is one of my favorite places when it comes to how they do healthcare, the people are paying 50%. You know,
they're paying 50%.
Doesn't matter who you are.
Healthcare. We're paying 50% now and not getting healthcare. So imagine what would happen. And think about that. Imagine what would happen if we did have universal health care. I guarantee you, all three of us can agree right now that we pay way too much in taxes.
Yeah. Way too much. And here's my opinion also. I don't think I lost my train of thought. Somebody else pick it up.
Okay. Well, universal health care, agreed, it would raise the taxes, but it would take away what we're paying in private health care, right?
Would it?
That's the theory. That's the theory. What does
you go to the doctor? How many times a year do you see that your doctor or go to the hospital?
Well, everybody's different. I am a very sickly person. I go to the doctor all the time, and I have lots of prescriptions. But that's
I go to the doctor all the time. I pay $300 and something fucking dollars a month for my health care, and I pay zero. I still have to pay $7,000 fucking dollars before in hospital bills before they'll even start covering anything.
I pay zero. I pay zero, no deductible.
You work for fucking Kaiser, man. You got your little sliver.
I work for healthcare. Yeah, hey, that's my niche. But yes, no, I get it. I get it. But you know, here's the question.
Or work for
the world benefits from. I'm looking around for a prescription bottle. You would think I'd have a lot of them just laying around as props, ready to go when I need them.
Casey House says the only thing the ACA did was what it was designed to do. It priced out the middle class. Socialism has one overarching themes: the two-tier economic model. That's the dirt poor and the rich. I don't like the word socialism in there because I kind of like that word, but it gets confused by a lot of people.
So a drug is R&D'd, and the U.S. pays a lot for that R&D, and then once it's developed, other countries, buy it at dirt cheap prices after we have paid to
You're right,
research and
Rose.
develop. That is why it's so expensive. I wish other countries would do the R&D and we could buy it dirt cheap.
All right, Cuba, right? My dad's asthma medication in Cuba, it's like fucking 13 cents. Here, it's like $380. So what the fuck is going on?
Right,
so
right.
Obviously, it didn't work.
Because they don't have the monopoly on healthcare that the United States does. The United States has a monopoly on everything.
On everything.
Whether it's healthcare, whether it's education, whether it's corporation, whether it's oil, whether it's military industrial complex, they own it. They own it.
Okay.
They own it along with the Federal Reserve and the IMF, World Bank, and BlackRock. That's who owns everything.
By the way, Joe Biden did just pass a law that says $35 cap on insulin, and Medicare can negotiate prices for drugs, which Republicans blocked as hard as they could, but it did pass.
Here's the thing.
Why shouldn't Medicare negotiate prices? Why would
you need anybody negotiating your drugs? You should be able to. You are an individual. You own your life. You own your health care. You're supposed to own everything, right? Of your own self. If you're a sovereign person, as America would say, you are sovereign, right? The politicians that, hey, America the beautiful, you're sovereign, you're free, right? Oh, you're free if you wear a badge or you have enough money, right? That's how this goes.
That's how this works.
Now,
okay. I don't know what that has to do with the question. The question was Medicare, being able to Medicare, government insurance that people earned over, you turn 65, you're in that.
Your own.
I really loved the idea of giving everybody health care and the government and our taxes paying for that, because our taxes pay for so much fucking bullshit.
Our taxes pay for killing brown children across the pond. That's
exactly. And I feel like if our taxes were going towards something like taking care of our people and taking care of our citizens, that would be a wonderful thing. So I agreed in the concept. It just wasn't executed because they have checks and balances to make sure that we never pull this shit off. Well, and this is the one thing that I wanted to get in. Tyson, I think is he's a good friend of mine. And he's super intelligent, much more intelligent than I am. But he still believes that the system can somehow fix this. The Republicans or the Democrats, and I'm not speaking for you, but I kind of feel like that's where you're coming from. Yeah. Hey, if we get the right people in there, this will work. I believe our system is entirely fucking broken, and it's been broken for a very long time. And the Republicans and the Democrats are never going to fix fucking anything. And it's just going to get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And for us to actually change America, we're going to have to do it as a people and as an organized people. And we're going to have to kick out all the congressmen and senators and presidents that represent all these elite corporate banks and military industrial complex, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. How do we fucking do that?
Stop voting for Republicans and Democrats.
Right.
Well,
step one.
I mean, that's a good step, but the problem is with that is I don't trust the voting system at this point anymore. And it has nothing to do with the Trump or anything like that. Because me personally, I don't feel like Trump beat Hillary in 2016. So I don't think this is
Well, popular vote, he didn't.
Well, I know, and we could get into all that shit and whatever, but
let's do it. The popular vote should be what counts, and it doesn't.
It should be.
We could
one person, one vote.
But here's the catch: the banks get who they want. The banks want who they want, and they're going to put in. We look like a bunch of assholes going to the polls, and I'm still going to go to the polls just because I'm me. But like honestly, they know what they want. They know what they're going to get, and they can't have somebody who's Republican in there all the time because it'll fuck up their system, and they can't have somebody who's a Democrat in there all the time, so it fucks up their system.
So they present us these two plates of horse shit, and they go pick this horse shit or that horse shit, and we all fucking follow suit, and we've been doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it.
But hold on. It hasn't always. Here's the thing, though. It hasn't always been horseshit. Go back, 150 years, 100 years, 75 years, 50 years. I think when we enjoined the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, I think there was a lot of good intent behind all of that. I think that good souls meant for this to be a good
in the
country,
very
governed
beginning,
in a good
in
a good way, minus slavery, which we could do a whole nother show in that. I
and
think
the
though,
genocide that it took to get this great idea going.
right, but what's the word that absolute power corrupts absolutely. As we've moved forward, I think that a lot of they've even talked about this. A lot of norms have been broken. They're not rules. Like Donald Trump broke so many norms, and people said, well, technically there's no law against it because nobody thought a president would actually do something. Like there's no law that says a president can't pardon himself. But it was never conceived that a president would need to, right? It's like the president was supposed to be the best of the best of the best. I think of Men in Black, right? The best of the best of the best, sir. The president was supposed to be the best of the best. So it was never thought that the president would need to pardon himself. Then here comes Nixon. And then here comes ever since then. And now Trump, oh my God, the only reason he wants to be president. At this point, the only reason he wants to be president is to not go to jail.
Yeah, but they have us fighting over this nonsense, right?
Why are people worried about somebody who's not even working in our politics anymore? He's not a president. He's not anybody in our government. And as a matter of fact, I really don't think he's going to win in 2020. They're not going to allow it.
No.
Well, 2020 was 3 years ago. I don't think he'll win in 2020 either.
I'm sorry, 2024. My bad.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I don't think they're going to let him win in 2024. I just don't see it. I
don't see it either. But
I pray that you're right. I pray that you're right.
But some
do you think that Joe Biden,
some douchebag's going to win? I mean, Joe Biden's a douchebag too.
Joe Biden is a war hawk. Joe Biden is showing his true colors in real time right now when it comes to Ukraine and Israel. A lot of people don't remember this shit or even know any better, but Joe Biden worked directly under President Bush during the Iraq-Afghanistan war. He was one of the lead advisors on the war team. So this whole thing that this is something new that he's a big war hawk is a farce. Biden loves war, and he loves his banker friends, and he's going to do what he needs to do to keep his banker friends rich. And don't think for 2 seconds that anything to do with Russia and Ukraine had anything to do other than central banking. And the same thing that's going on with Israel and Gaza is the same exact fucking.
Let's go there. The new wars, right? Let's go there.
Let's go there, please.
That's a good change of topic.
So Ukraine, Russia, Gaza, and Israel.
Yeah. So
where do
we
you want
had
to start? Where do you want to
20 years of Afghanistan and Iraq and the whole debacle of bullshit. Knock down our towers, get the people pissed off, go chase weapons that don't exist, blow up a bunch of shit. Now we're on to these new wars.
Let's start. These wars aren't new. The whole Middle East thing is not new. In 1953, the United States government overthrew the Iranian Shah, over what they said was British petroleum, which is probably somewhat true. But what it boils down to is that it was Iranian oil. Great Britain wanted it. What Great Britain wants, they get, just like the United States. That's the way these things go. They overthrew the Shah, and it's been nonstop ever since. It's 1953.
And tell me if I'm wrong. Wasn't the Shah a democratically elected dude?
Back then, yes, they still had like elections and stuff like that.
And we put in a dictator, or we helped them put in.
Well, I mean, anytime the United States helps somebody overthrow a government, you can rest assured that they put the CIA operatives in there to run the show. You can rest assured that right now.
So let's talk about the Ukraine. Should we be supporting the Ukraine?
Absolutely not. And for so many reasons. Number one, that's not our war. It's not our war to fight. Number two, the only reason that Russia is invading Ukraine Well, I don't want to say the only reason, because there's more to it than that. But the major reason that Russia went into Ukraine is they don't want the West involved in there, and the United States would not get the fuck out of there and stop doing business deals over there. What most people don't understand is, let's go back to the 90s after the USSR broke up, right? And the USSR breaks up, and I'm sorry, they break up, and Ukraine ends up with some Russian nukes. Okay. Now, Bill Clinton and I can't remember who was the UK prime minister at the time, maybe Margaret Thatcher, if I might be wrong, 1994, something like that. They go in and
it must have been Thatcher. Yeah. Must have.
They made a deal. They made a deal that, if Ukraine turns over these nukes to Russia, they would be protected. Okay. And so they do it. Now, circle to the late 90s, I think it's Boris Yeltsin. I don't think it was Gorbachev. We're talking Boris Yeltsin at this point. Boris Yeltsin was in between that and Putin. He says, okay, we've done all these things. We want to join NATO. We want to get into NATO.
Right.
But there was a caveat. He says, we want to get into NATO, but because we have all these nukes, we don't want to wait. We want to get in right away. And NATO laughed them off. NATO said, kick rocks, get the fuck out of here, whatever. And so Russia was like, okay, fuck you guys. Then we don't want anything to do with NATO. We don't want your NATO countries bordering anywhere touching our Russian borders. And I'm not pro-Russia. Let's get this out of the way right now. I'm not a pro-Putin guy. Fuck these people. Seriously. I am pro-Russian citizens. I am pro-Russian, people. Fuck their government. This is
any citizen that's nonviolent. I love them.
They don't deserve this.
I want to be clear. I agree with some of that. I agree that NATO was pushing its boundaries to a point that made Russia nervous, maybe even to the point that it started this war. And I get that. I do. The NATO, not just America, but the NATO countries were getting a little too close for Putin's comfort. That said, it does not justify what the Russians did to the Ukrainians, does not justify it. His justification to the world, he said he was going to denazify Ukraine. I do not believe that Jewish.
Anybody?
I do not believe that it's. I do not believe that it's Jewish.
Let Tyson
president.
finish, and then I want to jump back to
I don't believe that his Jewish president was a Nazi. That's just my feeling that Zelensky is not a Nazi, nor does he defend Nazi propaganda. Now, were there legitimate concerns that Russia had about Ukraine? Sure, of course. But to denazify that why didn't they just say, you know what, NATO's getting too close, so we're pushing back?
Because the United States wouldn't stop. That's why they wouldn't stop. So these countries are getting close. The NATO countries are getting closer and closer to Russian borders. And what does the United States do in 2014? What they always fucking do: another coup. They overthrow the Ukrainian government in 2014, just like they do to everybody else. They just go into these places. They overthrow their governments. Obama did this. Okay?
I disagree. I remember specifically watching this on the news. I think the people of Ukraine did that. I watch. I don't think Obama, went over and held any flags or didn't.
This
no,
was CIA,
I watched.
dog. I'm telling you,
this,
it was CIA did.
Well,
this.
no, I have no compunction that the U.S. didn't have interest in that, or didn't, just like in Russia interfered with our election. Russia,
Sure.
interfered and stoked fears and prodded people. Of course. Did we do that in Ukraine? I'm absolutely sure we did. So, but the Ukrainians themselves had to have some a chip in that hand, or it wouldn't have happened, right?
So are you arguing? I'm wondering, are you arguing, Tyson, that we should be defending the Ukraine and giving them support? And
if
and
how
the
United States and NATO, if the United States and NATO helped Ukraine get to where they are, that they're in this war, do we not have a responsibility to them? So, Shaun, you said it's our fault that they're in this war. Then don't we owe them something?
Decent question, Shaun.
Okay, so in the beginning of this, I'm not gonna, I'm real as fuck, dude. I'm buzzing reality because I like to smoke weed.
Right.
Okay, so here's the catch: when this first started in Ukraine, I was like, okay, we need to get them a little bit of money and weapons. I was okay with that in the beginning. I really was, and I'm sure all my libertarian friends right now are like, "Fuck you, or whatever." But because of the history of things, I was like, okay, we need to help these folks out a little bit, but we don't need boots in the ground. That's one thing we don't need is boots in the ground, which we'll get to that in a minute. Okay. But then it got to be like, okay, the first 10 billion, a little bit of weapons. Okay. I'm cool with that. $10 billion in weapons is a lot of fucking weapons, dude. It's a lot. It's a lot. But then it got to be another 10 billion, another 12 billion, another 20 billion until it's like well over 100 billion. Mind you, I live just down the street from the infamous 8 Mile that everybody knows in Detroit, and we got motherfuckers living under bridges, okay?
Yeah, every city in America.
Exactly.
Detroit is fucked up.
Billions, hundreds of billions of dollars overseas for a war machine.
We can't feed our homeless. We can't give our homeless jobs. We can't.
But here's the catch. So, we do this coup in 2014, and that's when Putin was really like, okay, you guys, I'm telling you right now, if you don't leave Ukraine alone and get the fuck out of here, I'm going to fuck these guys up. And he kept saying it. He probably gave everybody 3, 4, 5, 6 different warnings. Hey, if you don't get the fuck out of here, we're going to fuck these guys up. Nobody listened. Here we are. Does he have a legitimate beef? Yes, he does. Do I agree with how he handled it? Absolutely not. But does he have a beef? Yes.
Yes, and we're about to get to some of our callers. We have a couple of people that want to talk to you and want to talk to Manu, and maybe they don't want to talk to me because I'm a little caliente today. But here's the thing, and I talked to Manu about this earlier. This is why people tune in to watch, because Shaun, Manu, Tyson, yes, we do not always agree. We're going to have these arguments. We disagree. That's what makes this a great show. If all we did was sit here and agree with each other and pat each other on the back, who would want to watch?
The cool thing is we found some middle ground. We found some places that we do agree.
There are some places we agree, and there are places we disagree. But I think that's the
biggest, one of the hugest problems with America right now. The system is entirely broken, like I said. But is this this extreme polarization between the right and the left? It's part of.
And how do we find the middle ground?
Like Cassie said earlier, we got to get them all out. We can't do this Democratic Republican two-party bullshit.
But how do we empathize with each other? I was just telling Shaun before the show, most of my day is consumed with, I wake up, I make the bed, I put on my clothes, I have to go wash and do laundry, I've got to let the dog out, these are things that any human in any country and anywhere can empathize with. These are things that we all have to do, right?
I have the perfect answer.
If they have water.
If they have water. Yeah, politics is this little bitty sliver of my life, but 95% of my life, I think all of us would agree with, and yet we never focus our love and affection and everything on that 95%. We love to hate each other over that 5% sliver. That's where all the contention and everything happens.
For example, Shaun, I was watching some of your channel, and Zach, one of our listeners, he's probably in line to ask.
He's on now, yeah.
He was talking to you on his podcast, and you guys started talking about, I don't know whether it was Detroit versus some other city in the
the college football thing.
Yeah, college football shit, right?
Guy, I'm a U of M guy.
Now, I was on mushrooms once when I was like 22, and I walked into a bowling alley, and I looked at the 10 screens above all the different lanes. One of them was a city versus city basketball match. One of them was a city versus city football match. The next thing was a boxing match. The next thing was a commercial for a guy spraying his Toyota truck or his Ford truck that he had just bought that was so beautiful. And the poor people next door were like, oh, I wish we had that truck. And it was all competition. I think one of the answers to changing America is somehow, what they did back in the 50s is they said, okay, the mom's not going to raise the kids anymore. The dad's not going to raise the kids anymore. The government's going to raise the kids. And they put us all in these public schools, and they fill us full of this bullshit. And we all think we know the true history of America. It turns out we're all just fucking programmed slaves. But let's bring on some of our listeners because we are running out of time.
Let's do it.
This has been a fun show. Let's bring some people on.
Oh,
First up, we got Zach.
What up, Zach?
Yo, Zach, how are you, buddy?
OH. I had to do that for Shaun right there. OH.
So I don't recognize him without his tank top. I just don't know who we're talking to. But okay.
Every time we do the show, my like we're both. I'm bi. He's gay. Every time he comes on the show,
I'm not hitting on him. I'm just saying.
Every fucking time. At some point, they're gonna call it out. And Tyson, you are what's it called when you do the Me Too thing? Zach's gonna scream.
All right. Zach's
gonna start waving his
harassing you. I apologize. I'm just used to seeing you in a certain kind of shirt. I did not realize you were going to be in a hoodie, and I will go to classes for 8 weeks to get over this.
Hey,
right.
I'm flattered. Actually, I'm flattered. Thank you.
Hey,
Thank
man,
you
that's the way things are supposed
This
to be.
is Dangerous Thoughts.
Thank you.
Dangerous thoughts.
Yeah, Zach, hit us, man.
Hey. We've talked a lot. About, but let's let on Dangerous Thoughts. Let's get into it with Israel and Gaza. Actually, do states have the right to own property? Because that's what it seems like with Gaza and Israel, Hamas, and people are in the middle. So what the?
Okay, I have to understand the question.
I want to understand the question too, because I've always thought that property tax was the biggest bullshit in the whole fucking taxes system.
Oh, it is.
Well, no, but along Gaza and Israel, there have been Israeli settlements that have been pushing Palestinians out of their homes to build Israeli settlements. I do not think that is right. And I am a huge supporter of Israel, the Israeli people. I think, if you look at the world and you look at all the Muslim states and countries, and then you look at how many Israeli countries are there, one, little bitty. That's all they have, and then you think, Muslims want to push them out and have zero Israelis anywhere in the whole world.
But isn't it all about, in general, like, why did we pick at the end of World War II? Why did we pick
I don't know why we, because Hitler murdered 6 million Jews, so maybe we were kind of
I understand that, but why did we pick that spot? It was religious. Am I not?
But it was religious to the Christians, to the Jews, to the Muslims, to everybody. Everybody who wasn't atheist called that a religious hill,
Go ahead, Shaun.
The Rock of the Dome.
Yeah, it's a fucked up place. It's a stupid place to have put that country, in my opinion.
So that area, the whole country of Israel / Gaza, all that, until 1948 was a British property. It was a British colony, and it was run by Great Britain. Okay, it was resided with Jews, Christians, and Muslims alike. They all lived there. Okay. Now, you get a couple wars involved, and things happen, and Israel happened to have the right people behind them, being the United States and the UK. And so they get this land, right? and so all of a sudden people can't live in harmony anymore. There, like I said, there was Jews, Christians, and Muslims all living there together.
Were they living in harmony in 1948? There wasn't this rocket.
Here's the thing. the Jews and Arabs have been at this. This is biblical, dude. Like the Jews and Arabs are never getting along. It's never going to happen. And that's that. Like the Jews and the Muslims, it's not happening. It's not ever going to happen. This has been since the beginning of
over
time.
the name of a fictional god in the sky. It's such a bummer.
I don't
but
necessarily,
okay.
at this point, I don't think it's a holy war. I think it's a turf war because, you know, the Jews nor the Muslims give a shit about the Bible. They don't care what the Bible says. Okay. A lot of us might be Christians and whatnot, but the fact of the matter is the people that live over there and deal with that every day are not Christians and do not care what the Christians say about Israel. The fact of the matter is that was a British land. This is what they think. This was a land that was called Palestine. It was not called Israel. I have a map from National Geographic in 1947 that calls it Palestine. It's literally called Palestine. Okay. Now, you know, because, you know, Israel had the right backing with the right governments, they were able to force their way in and take their land and put the Palestinians on reservations, just like the Indians did with the Native Americans. This is what happened. That's how
they built this big wall. This is what happened.
But here's no, I agree with Shaun to a point, but here's the difference. Currently in modern America, Native Americans are getting more rights. We've realized what we've done is wrong, and we're expanding that, right? Native Americans are able to build casinos and whatever, you know. But over there, it's not. Hold on. Did I turn my mic down too low, or
I'm sorry. Does that make up for everything?
Come on.
No, it doesn't make up. What I'm saying is over there, they're, you know, they're still taking stuff away from the Muslims, right? It's like in America, we took too much, and now they're starting to get a little bit back. Over there, they're not starting to get a little bit back. They're getting nothing back. They're still taking, and they haven't reached their azimuth where it's starting to turn in the other direction. They haven't reached that yet.
Why isn't anybody, when all this happened now, why, you know, there's people like me saying this, but why is the mainstream media, well, I shouldn't ask why, but we're going to say it for the sake of saying it. Why isn't mainstream media asking why Hamas attacked Israel in the first place? Or if they really attacked Israel in the first place, okay? Because here's the catch. Israel propped up Hamas. They're the ones who made Hamas. They funded it. They gave them weapons, along with the United States, to be quite honest with you. They did this, okay? And the proof's in the pudding. If you look at the footage, Hamas is using United States artillery and weapons, period. Knock yourself out on all the footage, okay? Now, here's the thing. Israel props up Hamas. They give them the money. They get them started. And they turn into this, you know, resistance regime per se. Some will call them terrorists. We'll call them a resistance regime. Okay. Now, here's the catch. Israel puts them up and then turns around and kills their leader. This is
which was who at the time? And what
God, this is, damn it. I'm sorry, I don't have the name of this person. But this
okay, so Israel and America, how do we have proof that we backed and we gave those guys the weapons?
Well, because America's been funding and arming terrorist organizations my entire life.
Yeah, entire life. All right, good. Just wanted you to say it out loud.
We have fought on the side. Now check this out, y'all. Right? We were at war with Al Qaeda, right? We were at war with the Taliban, right?
Yeah, for years we backed those motherfuckers.
So how come they have our weapons and shit? And don't say it's because.
Do you remember when Rambo was fighting the fucking in the 80s? I remember watching the Rambo 3, and he's like, "Oh, we're gonna fucking kick some ass for America," and he's fighting with the Afghanis against the Russians. It's so fucking ridiculous.
But this is how it's going down. So the United States and Israel can fund and arm these so-called terrorist organizations, and then they go out and do some terrorist shit. Surprise, surprise. And then all of a sudden they're going to get mad and be like, we need to go kill all these people that we've been funding and fucking arming for the last 50 fucking years.
Yeah. And for me, I think this whole idea of a war on terror, a war on a noun, just like a war on drugs, fucking stupid goddamn thing that is just going to be never ending.
Enough already.
Yeah, enough already.
Enough already. Seriously, enough's enough.
And all we did by going over there for the last 20 years and saying we're going to fight a war on terror is organize a massive terrorist group of.
They made more terrorists.
The problem was we created a vacuum. So you get rid of a regime, right? You got rid of a regime, and now there's a power vacuum which hates the country. I mean, think of America, right? Think of America. If anybody came in here and blew up our Congress and our president and our whatever, whether it was China, Japan, Russia, it doesn't matter, we would then automatically hate them. So whatever government came to power would be an anti whoever did this to us power.
Of course.
Well, who did this to them? America. So whatever regime comes in is going to be an anti-America regime. Naturally, right?
I wonder these days if we lose on purpose, because we supposedly have the biggest, amazing war machine in the world. Are we losing these wars on purpose? No.
They're not losing though, because the central banks are winning.
Central banks
are winning. They're winning. That's how this works. It's not about who wins the war. It's not about who lives or dies. It's all about getting the next central bank propped up. Which, by the way, you guys, the Federal Reserve will be putting it's already set in stone. The Fed's going to be putting up a bank in Ukraine. Surprise, surprise.
No,
2,000, 3,000 years ago, wars were fought for resources, for land, for access to clean water. Today, wars are fought for money and power.
That's it.
Comfort. Just straight old comfort.
What we're doing in the Middle East is modern day colonization. This is nothing new than what the English did to Americans. When they first took over, this is nothing new than what the British did to Ireland when they had their rule. This is nothing new. This is the exact same textbook shit that they've been doing for hundreds of years at this point. Do you realize that there's only been the United States became a country in 1776, right? That's what everybody celebrates, the 4th of July. Woo fucking who, right? Do you know that there's only been like a 10 or 12 year period that the United States has not been at war since then?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And I love the 80 year thing, the Revolutionary War, the Civil War, World War I. This just is, and you can name a million other wars that just keep going on. Zach, your original question was, do states have the right to, what was it?
Do states have the right to own property?
Meaning, do they have to? Fuck no, they don't,
No.
and they should never. They should not have the right to own property. They should. They should not have the right to tax citizens for.
How can the state own anything if they don't produce anything?
Yeah.
The only reason they can exist is because they extort money from the people.
Yeah. So do they own property? Yes, they own all our shit. Do they?
Because they take from us. The state is non-existent if we don't put up with it.
And ironically, that's socialism. I know you like that word, but that's socialism.
Yeah. Well, I love the idea that I don't love the idea. I hate it because I don't want to grow old and comfort.
To some degree, okay, Social Security is socialism, but I agree with it. I've paid into it, and I damn well better get it when I turn 65.
It's a Ponzi scheme.
Medicare, same thing. Well, I don't care. I paid into the fucking Ponzi scheme, and I better get my money when I turn 65.
I hope I better get your money, but I don't see. I'm not getting it.
I'm not going to get mine. I'll tell you that.
No,
you damn well better get mine.
It's not a Ponzi scheme because Ponzi schemes are voluntary, and you are forced to pay into it anyways. And how it's working is exactly how it's working, which is to steal from the youth to pay for those who are of the age to actually grant it. So,
well, God damn it, I was the youth.
You're not
paid into it. And I paid into it.
Here's my liberal heart, and I'm with you, Tyson. My liberal heart is like, hey, we got to figure out a way to take care of our citizens. We should have health care for our citizens. It makes sense.
It could all be done voluntarily.
Yeah, it could.
Yeah.
It could. And we haven't figured out a way to do it right, and the government won't do it for us.
And we can't get Sally Struthers to advocate for everything that ought to be
and what's
voluntary.
funny is so many Americans run around thinking the government's going to fix it someday.
Mhm.
That shit is not going to happen. So I think
the government's not fixing anything. The only thing they do is create fires, and then when they try to fix it, they pour gasoline on it. That's the only way to put it to it. Now, Democrats are not saving us. Republicans are not saving us. And to be quite honest with you, I love my libertarians, but there's a lot of fucking work to do to get that going right now. I love my liberty here. I'm an anarchist. I'm an ANCAP, whatever you want to call me. Okay. I'm a capitalist. I'm an anarchist. And here's the catch. We're not voting out of this.
No, we're not going to.
It's not happening. We're not going to. The next Democrat's not going to fix this. The next Republican's not going to fix this. The only people that are going to fix this are people like you, me, all of us. Those
people, all of the poor, the people that have a vested interest.
All you got to do is get angry enough at the system and say no. It's not hard. All you have to do is say no. If 1 to 5%.
I agree. And I'm angry. I'm angry that the fact that nobody got my Sally Struthers joke. But moving on.
But no, it's all it takes is 1 to 5% of the population to be like, hey, we're not putting up with your shit. There's 338 million people here. Take 5% of that. Take 1% of that.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
My dad always says this, and I shouldn't have called him out. Fucking threw him under the bus. But what if we all stopped paying income tax at once?
Yes.
Yeah.
Tax revolt. Stop paying taxes. Stop complying, and say no. You're not.
That's what we're talking about is a strike, right? A tax strike.
A tax strike. That would be a lovely
idea. To be quite
idea.
honest with you,
and specifically an income tax strike and a land tax strike. Like I'm not against the idea of taxes in general. I think just some of these states have a 10% income tax that should pay for all government. I've done the math. It really should. But
I agree with you. I agree that tax, like there are common like roads and so forth that are commonly used that have to be commonly paid. The whole tax I get, and I agree with.
How did they pay for roads before the income tax?
Well, how did the Romans do it? They used tax. And that was 2,000 years ago. No, Romans were known for their roads, and yes, it was tax. So to some degree, I agree. But how much, how wisely is it spent? Who makes the decision, et cetera, et cetera? Those are the arguments we actually need to have. Yeah, nobody's going to be tax-free and expect, private citizens to build highways. Nobody believes that.
You let Walmart and people like that pay for the highways, and state lotteries pay for the highways, and for voluntary charities to pay for highways. Do you realize that we are taxed higher than we've ever been taxed in the history of all of it?
Agreed. That tax ought to be lowered and better spent.
Also, let's talk about roads just for a second. Shaun, you're an anarchist. You believe in the idea of a full-blown agorist or anarchist society that works. I'm not sure that I believe in that or not. I've been thinking about it a lot. But just in my own neighborhood that my parents live in up in nice California, they have a shitty road that goes up into their subdivision that's full of all these potholes. Now, they passed out some flyers to all their neighbors and said, look, the city's never going to fix these fucking potholes that we have to run over and fuck up our cars on. Can we all put in some money and fix this road that goes to all of our houses? And they did that. Now, if that could work on a global scale, or at least on a nationwide scale, that would be pretty cool. I don't know if it's really feasible.
I agree with that, but then you get into in a small okay, there are 10 houses, 8 people agree with that, 2 people are destitute, but the other 8 are okay with that, and they say we'll cover you and it's fine. You do that on a much larger scale, and then you've got a group of people that are not paying their fair share. And then there is aggravation, and how is that?
That's where the voluntary charity steps in.
That's where, it gets it. I don't know.
And if we weren't raised in this system that teaches competition, be the fucking best, instead of teamwork, maybe we could pull this agorism anarchy idea.
I think each person, according to his gifts, right? I whatever I'm physically, mentally, intelligently able to give to society, it might be more than this person, but that person might be born with certain disabilities, or other people might be born with certain gifts.
Fucking retarded. Let's just say it. Fucking retarded.
I mean, you got the Einsteins.
We gotta take care of the retards.
In an anarchist society, there is an understanding between the people, and I know that's a lot to digest at this moment. But here's the catch: there's going to be an understanding within the people of that community. Okay. And there's going to be times where, like, there's people who are too old to take care of themselves, or, to whatever this, that, or the other. But the understanding is in that society that the community comes together and helps those people.
And at what age? Somebody might be very active at 80, another person might be completely disabled at 50.
But it's the same thing, though. In an anarchist society, the people of the community take care of each other. That's how that would work.
And I agree with you. I agree with you. That by that, in your explanation, I agree with that 1,000%. It's based on the individual. An individual might be active up to 80. Another individual might be, worn out, or
there's people who are 25 that don't have any legs and shit. They're going to need help.
Right. It's all based on the individual.
Can't function. She can't work. She's
right.
A beautiful, loving.
But that's the understanding of an anarchist society, is that you take care of each other.
It's not based on a ruler or on an age. It's based on the individual.
No, everything's individual. Everything is on an individual basis.
Is there a historical example of an anarchist society that it works?
Yes. 17th century Ireland was a stateless society for 1,000 years, roughly 1,000 years, until England came and took it over. It took England two centuries to take Ireland, but that was because there was no government to make deals.
Zach, did you have another example, or were you talking Ireland?
Oh no, there's another example with I believe it was 9th century Iceland as well. That is the example of a voluntary society that had no real government. They had governments, but I mean on a smaller scale. It was more localism, it was Viking Age, and it was very decentralized for the settlement area. Because
I dig it, and because they were so isolated in Iceland. But I dig what you guys are saying. And when I was 20 years old, I hated my government. I still do. I still think it's a broken system. But I ran around with the anarchist T-shirt. I sang punk rock. I loved the lyrics of Propaganda and NoFX and all these guys that are speaking this shit. And but I never really, I never really got down to think about how would that work. And I really am interested in joining the thought process of how we could get that established and what we need to do to try to make the system not the slave system that it is. I think we have two more questions.
Two more callers.
So let's take these questions and end the show, because we tend to run over time all the time. Let's go.
Up next, we have Dave.
Hello. It's funny
Dave.
It's funny you started mentioning roads. When I moved down here to Colorado a couple of months ago, I mean, like Seattle, King County, notorious for potholes. I mean, and I couldn't understand it, but then coming here to the Springs, oh my God, every time I hit a pothole, I was like,
well, there's a bunch of dumb Polacks in Seattle. I mean, you can't.
Well, and here's the thing: is that you could be blind and know you either entered or left King County.
I'm sorry, to do what Shaun does. I'm a Polak. My whole family is Seattle Polacks, and that's the reason I get away with that joke. Okay. Go
I
ahead.
just had breaded Pollock for dinner last night. Just so you guys know, the fish.
Yes.
Okay,
Go ahead, Dave. Sorry.
enjoy.
No, but like, yeah, King County roads are notorious. But if you go north to Snohomish County or south to Pierce County, like I said, you could be blind right in the car and you say, "We just left King County, didn't we?" Because those roads are smooth. But for some reason, King County, the most populated county, it's just like don't know what the sitch is with that. So trying to decentralize to that effect is like, yeah, I think that would be an awesome thing.
Well, you go to Dallas, the roads are fucking wonderful. So why does Texas have all the beautiful highways and why does Seattle get fucked? What's the reason for that?
The Mexicans. No, I'm just kidding.
I know.
Wait, what?
I'm just kidding. Trump would say that. He'd be like, they paid for it. They're going to pay for it. You know what I mean? The Mexicans are going to pay for the wall. You know what I'm saying? I'm just making jokes, you guys.
Yeah.
Obviously, yeah, it was like kindling around a Democrat. What the fuck just happened? I can't.
But no, thing kind of rolling back to like talking about medical, the ACA and all that. It's not just humans that are getting screwed over. It's same my friend's dog when I was living in Seattle, it was cheaper for him to order her cough medication from a pharmacy in Canada by leaps and bounds than getting it anywhere locally. It was ridiculous.
I mean, you know, when it comes to road shit like that, I live in Michigan. I'm just outside of Detroit, and our roads are fucking atrocious. Okay, like
and you're the Motor City for corn's sake.
No, and the funny thing is you know our wonderful governor Gretchen Hitler, her campaign
Whitmore.
Her slogan, her campaign slogan is, "We're gonna fix the damn roads. We're fixing the damn roads." Now, dude, Michigan has been collecting taxes for the roads. When it comes, they take a cigarette tax for roads. They take a gas tax for roads. They take a tax for roads, property tax, this, that, or the other. Our roads are awful. They're awful. I'm talking, dude, probably some of the worst in the United States. I'm not even kidding you. You know, I'm not exaggerating.
Have you been to California?
So how long is it going to take for all these politicians to run on these specific platforms that they say they're absolutely going to do when they get into office, and they completely fail and they completely go back on what they said because they're controlled by the elite, the banking system, the World Bank, the military industrial complex? They are puppets. This country is broken. How long is it going to take for people to fucking see this and start doing something about it?
It's going to boil down to people turning the fucking TV off.
Turn the fucking TV off. God damn it.
That's what it's going to come down to. Is turn the TV off, start reading some books, start researching some other shit, get into some independent media who are going to spit things, you know, the way that it should be, like honest, unmerciful truth. That's one thing you get from Buds in Reality is honest and unmerciful truth. I have no mercy on any politician, whether it's Republican and or Democrat. I'm not giving them the benefit of the doubt. Okay.
Cool. And absolutely, you know, plug here, check out Shaun Collins' show and Shaun Collins' channel, Buds in Reality. It's BUDSN, the letter N, Reality. And he's got a lot of good information on there and a lot of education on there. And if you're interested in helping this country be something better than it is, it's definitely a place you should go to learn some things.
And one thing
Dave,
what you see up here, he and I, Manu and I, absolutely preach: think for yourself. Think for yourself. That is the most important. If we get anything out of this conversation, it's not this party, the Republican, the Democrat, the Independent, the this and that. It's do your research. Don't let Fox News, don't let MSNBC, don't let CNN
program your fucking mind. No shit.
Go out and research and do your own thinking. Now, I may agree with certain points that any one of those three Are we doing the Manu?
Contaminated. No,
I may agree. I may agree with it.
Contaminated.
Well, I
news
mean, if
sources.
you want to agree with news stations that collect government subsidies, that's fine. But
No. I don't agree with a news station in whole.
A
I may agree with a
particular
news
thing they might
station
say here
in
or
a
there.
particular story or in a particular thing or in a particular might be. I agree with Fox Today on this news story, CNN on this news story, MSNBC on this news story. But I don't just. I'm not a sheep that follows one station entirely.
And a lot of people are. And the problem.
Yeah.
I remember back in the 80s. Even the early 90s, there was this weird thing when you watch the news. It actually told you facts and didn't tell you how to think. And I don't know when that ended, but it just told you like, here's what's happening.
Right. The president came out. The president said this. Period. Not.
Period.
This is what you should think about what the president said. This is what you should make of it. This is what an asshole or a saint he was.
Yeah,
it
I
was
can't
just,
stand
the president said this.
Any of the power, power elite, NBC, ABC, CBS, CNN,
MSNBC, and Fox, polar opposites. Right?
Yeah, I don't believe in
everything.
All those. What a lot of people don't know is all those news organizations are owned by the military-industrial complex, the World Bank, the oil billionaires, etc. And it's just a system for them to program.
They get government subsidies. End of story. Like your tax dollars pay media to lie to you. That's where some of your money goes. There's no no sugarcoating that.
Right. We're living in 1980. We're living in and we're living in 1984. All right. So the book, George Orwell, read it. Dave, go ahead. Did you have any other questions? I'm sorry, we've been
no questions, but I mean, I can totally agree with you on as one that worked at a small market CBS affiliate in the mid 90s. Yeah, we were just boom, boom, boom. This is what happened. Here's what they said. Next story.
And you were one of like 10,000 markets that were all saying the same local shit with the same words and the same, yeah.
And of course, we always try to put our own local spin to it and
do your best to break through the system. But
no, just weird flashback to a blooper that made it onto the anchor didn't know how to say Penelope, and he said Penelope. I think that's how you say her name. Penelope and Miller.
Nice.
All right. Well,
we're gonna end.
Final guest.
Our last guest.
Are you ready?
What's
up? Sorry, we do the whole Budweiser. What's up?
He's basket weaving at the moment. Oh, the headphones.
Oh, you weren't even listening to the show, and now you're gonna fucking jump in and comment.
What's up? And yes, I have been listening. No, I just got a call from my dad. I had to take that real quick.
Yeah.
But
What's up?
What's up?
Parents are with that. I love that.
Yeah, great show. I mean, so much. I mean, Shaun, I'm stoned. I always am. So, here we are.
Welcome. Me too.
Yeah, here we are.
We're not called Buds in Reality for no reason.
And of course, got a little natty ice here too.
Nice.
Roads, and then after we're done with roads, ask me about the quote on terrorism. It's kind of funny. Anyway, roads. I live just outside Nashville, and the roads we have here are smooth as glass, dude. I live out in the country. I'm on 10 acres. It's a 2-lane road. There's a 1-lane road just down the road here, and it even has the signs. 1-lane bridge. And it's perfectly paved. It's perfectly smooth. I've hit 100 miles an hour on that road because, it's just straight. And, but the interstates, all except for 840. 840 is kind of like a bypass around the lower part of Nashville. And it's always got work going on, blah, 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 blah. But other than that, the roads here in this state are.
Is it because
really
Elvis was from there? I mean, why does Nashville?
Elvis was from Memphis. He never lived in Nashville. He lived in Memphis. Yeah.
Shit. There goes my theory.
No, but the roads around here, and I don't know where the tax money comes from. I'm guessing from people. But I don't know exactly how it's funneled or anything like that. I'm not a big political guy. I used to follow the news back when I was in my 20s. I'm 50 now, and I keep up with what's going on in the world and shit like that.
No, I hear you, but you just don't give a fuck anymore because it's so fucking exhausting. I understand. That's part of their whole system.
Right. Well, you guys know I am of the ancient astronaut theory, and I believe that there ain't shit we can do about it. The powers that be, it's almost like this shit is scripted. The powers that be, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And I'm just along for the ride. I'm drinking my beer, popping me some popcorn, sitting on the swing out in the front yard, and just waiting for the aliens to get here.
I hope they do. I certainly
so do I, dude. It'd be so awesome, man. It'd be Miller time for the entire, most of the planet.
Yeah. Well, the problem is if the aliens were actually in charge, God, that would be a bummer. I hope they show up and fix everything. That'd be cool. I have more faith in the aliens showing up and fixing everything than I do our political system.
The aliens don't want to come here. They think we're fucking out of our minds. What are you talking about?
Of course they do.
Here, dude. They're like, y'all are on your own, dude. Fucking
they're just sitting up there going, wow, these people.
Like,
what the fuck? Okay. Watch. Wait. I got an idea. Mind control that guy to have him do this. Let's see how this game plays out.
That's how nuts
back in the 2000s. Back in the 2000s, it was an animated video with war and everything happening, and this meteor that was coming towards Earth. And as soon as it got towards Earth and it saw the war and all the, how fucked up we are, the meteor was like, well, fuck that. It changed its trajectory. Hilarious. You should see this animated cartoon.
What was it? Do you remember?
Yeah, I have to look it up. But it was so poignant. It's like, we all this war and argument, everything. This meteor is coming towards Earth.
Alien meteor.
The meteor was like, fuck that.
Yeah.
Imagine a meteor scared to strike Earth because it was looked at us and it was like, ugh.
Well, it saw the nuclear bombs. Look, I'm a big fan of the UAP thing, and I think they are here. I think they've been watching for a while. I don't know what the fuck they are. I don't know how many of them are our military reverse engineering shit.
Dude.
I'm all a part of the. I mean, I've been up on that ever since I talked to Buzz Aldrin when I was 30 at a Star Trek convention. We sat across from each other for 3 hours, and he told me all about the existence of aliens and that they followed him to the moon and blah, blah, blah. And when the guy from the moon told me that these things are here and they're watching us, I had no other recourse but then to check out the UAP phenomenon.
Right. Dude,
they could be on the moon. They could be going, God, we did such a better job with dinosaurs. What the fuck are we doing with these monkeys that we genetically kicked in the ass? I'm with you.
Yeah, I was up at about 1:30, 2 o'clock. I don't know. It was a few mornings ago. I sent a tweet out about it, and Dave, he responded with a meme, and it was awesome. But I was just thumbing through the channels, and like Tyson, I watch ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox, C-SPAN, all that. All you get every.
Gotta get it all in so you can filter it all out.
Get every angle, right? And this was a Pentagon briefing on Fox News at like 1:30 in the morning. And they were showing, and it was live, and they were showing like a live picture of something and then a live picture of Gaza. And it said underneath it, UAPs have been spotted in dark areas over Gaza. And the dude from the Pentagon actually said, yes, we have seen unidentified aerial phenomena. We're not reporting on it. We don't know what it is, and it's no big deal. Fuck it.
Super fucking interesting topic.
I don't know. I mean, and that was it. That was it.
And anybody that's not following the UAP topic and where it fits into the whole what is our reality scenario is missing a piece of the puzzle. But not quite what our show was about. But I do like jumping that in, getting that fit in. What was I going to say? I
have a quote on terrorism.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, that's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah, this is funny. This is just real quick. y'all were talking about something, and it reminded me of the storyline in Grand Theft Auto 5. The story, and there was a cut scene in there where you're working with a federal agent and you're doing some shit for the federal agent, and the federal agent said, well, what better way to get more funding for your terrorism installation, whatever, than to create active terrorism? And that's what you were going to do. Exactly. The more terrorist attacks you create, the more funding you get, blah, 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 blah. Here it goes.
Yeah.
And that's just, from an idiot, a high school dropout like me playing video games. And I got that one.
And you got it. Yeah. And what if we could create a society that actually spent all the money that we do on science to win the wars, but without the wars? That'd be pretty cool. Not that I think tech and science is the answer to everything either. But
I don't think we're ever going to get rid of war, because like Shaun was saying, the Arabs and the Jews, man, that goes back thousands of years.
Well, it's just fucking, yeah.
They've been warring for thousands of years. They're going to be warring until the end of time.
Until human beings, at least, and I know earlier, the idea that it's a turf war instead of a religious war, part of that is true, but part of that is untrue as well.
I think Shaun was correct saying that it's more of a turf war right now, but what it could escalate into.
But these fucking religious people that are willing to pick up a gun and kill each other over what God wants, until human beings get over that dysfunction in our DNA, we don't have a chance.
But I mean, that's the radicals of every religion. Like, I'm a Christian. I'm not trying to go out and kill people. And I know Muslims who are like the most peaceful people I've probably ever met in my entire life, to be quite honest.
And Jews and
Buddhists and blah blah blah.
Buddhists and all of them. Yeah, exactly.
I'm very good friends with an entire family of devout Hindus.
Christians have been killing each other for thousands of years at this point. You know what I mean?
But you have that little sect of Christians that think. What was that? The burning witches. What am I thinking of? The Crusades. The Crusades. Yeah. Right. That was a Christian thing, right? The Crusades.
Oh yeah, that was a Christian thing.
Yeah. Well, they were more extreme back then. Today, extremist Christians, we call them evangelicals.
We still have
they just get up on TV,
running our government.
These fake miracles. They get all these people to donate money to them, and they don't spend a thin dime on taxes.
That's the thing.
The last thing I want. I think Chris Leftwich, you made a great point, and I'll let you finish, Tyson. But we got to get. That's another thing we have to accomplish is getting this idea in the very beginning to separate church and state. They are now
separate the state from everything.
Yeah,
all of it.
Yeah, all of it. And we have let the church and the state become one and the same. And that is a huge problem. So this was a great show. We went 37 minutes overtime as usual. I want to thank Shaun Collins for coming on and talking. I had a great time chatting with you. Check out Buds in Reality at Buds in Reality on YouTube. He's got a lot of fucking cool stuff on there. Thank you, Zach. Thank you, David. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Cassie, for running the show. Thank you, Tyson. The only chance we have of ever fixing any of this shit is coming from empathy, coming from love, coming from the idea that we're all human and that we shouldn't be fucking killing each other. So this was fun, man. I'd love to have you on again, Shaun. This was a good show.
For sure.
Thanks for doing what you do and being who you are. And we'll see everybody next week on Dangerous Thoughts. It's fucking dangerous to watch this show. It's fucking dangerous.
Giggity.